What do you think about when you hear the word stepmother? Well, there are so many stories and fairy tales about stepmothers, and they aren't always very positive. But today we want to shine a different light on the many amazing bonus moms out there who step into a very positive mothering role. Please stay with us.
Welcome to the American Mother's Mom to Mom podcast, a show that lifts, encourages, supports, and educates mothers to do their best in their awesome responsibility to raise, teach, and champion the rising generation. Join us as we talk to and answer questions from mothers nationwide about the challenges, heartbreaks, joys, and lessons learned from one mother to another.
Welcome to the American Mother's Mom to Mom podcast. I am your host, Deanne Taylor. Thank you for joining me today. I am excited to introduce my guest today to you. She is a vocal coach, singer, performer, and bonus mom to 2 kiddos. Miranda Longaker-Taylor performs in Washington, where she lives with her husband, Scott, and sometimes her 2 kids, ages 10 and 15. And I've got to tell you, Miranda is one of my favorite people. I met her a few years ago. Well, frankly, full disclosure, she is my daughter-in-law and a bonus mom. And I just love the way that she has handled that role, having not had children of her own and never been married before. And so I admire her for stepping into that role. And I love the way she is handling that. I thought having a discussion about what it means to be a bonus mom would be really important for us at this time. So Miranda, thank you. Also, I love to hear you sing and perform. So you can tell us a little bit about that too, if you want to, because I think that's part of who you are.
Aw, well, thank you so much. Thank you for the warm words. Thank you for having me on the podcast. It's a whole neat thing to step into motherhood. It's been an interesting journey of like figuring out what even I can be to these kiddos who like live with me part of the year. I instantly fell in love with them. The very first time we hung out, I was like, oh no, I love these children. Do I love their father? So that was fun. But then just slowly like getting to know them and getting to know how I can best be around, best be helpful, best care for them in ways that they actually want and need.
That's a challenge for every mother, whether you're biological full-time or whatever. Every mother has that sometime panic attack. Am I doing this right? But Miranda, if you haven't heard the podcast before, one of my big thing is that mom intuition. You need to listen to that inner mom because you're responsible for these little ones. And of course, your little ones are about 10 and 15 now, so they're not so little. At least they think they're not so little. But when we were talking, you mentioned some of the ways that you handle some of the circumstances in helping them progress or maybe perceive things differently so they can become better in what they do. Would you share some of those ideas with us, please?
Yeah. So, in my vocal coaching practice, so I'm a singer and performer. You mentioned it before, but I'm bringing it back up. A lot of what I work on with folks is actually student-led learning. What that means is that wherever the student wants to go, whatever the student feels they need, that's what I help them with. It's like an interesting way to be with people, but what I've found is that most people kind of have an idea what they need, and when they don't, it's really helpful to be like, do you think about this at all? And introduce concepts that they're more either asking for or just on the brink of wanting to ask for. So I do the same thing with the kiddos. This summer in specific, started noticing some behaviors that were, I was just like, what are you doing? What are you thinking? And using that question of like, well, what's going on behind the curtains? I developed this like the questions that we use before bed every night. And the questions, at first they were like, what are you doing? Why are you saying this? What are you asking me? And then I slowly started to peel back the layers on like, these are questions that basically come from mindfulness practices. The idea is we get the brain to start thinking about things in new patterns. And it's not coming from me. I'm not telling you, be a new person, do something different. I'm just asking you, what are you thankful for? And that question alone, like as an adult, can be so transformative. Instead of thinking about all the things that aren't going right, all the things you have to be doing, all of the things that are going on in our busy, busy lives, let's take a minute. What are we thankful for right now? And it led to some really fascinating conversations with the kiddos of like, thankful for my family, thankful for the internet, thankful for some things that were really common. And then occasionally they'd surprise me with things that I would never have expected that to have been the most interesting part of their day.
Hmm,
I
that's
get to know
interesting.
them. Yeah. So that was one of the questions before bed. Also, I should have written these down. Now I'm having silly brain. Um, what was good about today? And that could be anything. What was good about today? So, what did you enjoy? What was one thing? And it would always be different. And it would usually be the thing that I was least expecting. So, like if we did a big activity that day, they wouldn't mention going on the big thing. They would mention something really small, like, oh, while we were walking to the car, I noticed this cool thing. And I was like, really? That's what the cool thing was? That was what was good about today? Okay.
I like that you're asking them questions that they can't just usually give. Well, they could give you one word, but it's not a yes or no. It shows that they have to put some thought process into
Yeah.
it to come up with something that is going to satisfy you, number one, but also satisfy them. Because
Well,
most
there's
time
always
kids
the,
will just answer a question just to get you off their back, right?
well, and they do that. Like, certainly that is absolutely a thing that the kids will be like, oh, this, moving on.
Right.
But then there's always that time to be like, have a reaction of like, oh, really? And then leading with curiosity. What about that was special to you? Or, huh, just getting curious and asking them to give you that one extra layer or three or four. Gosh, there were moments where sometimes the youngest would just start like 5 chapters of answer to the question, and you're like, wow, okay, that was not just one thing that was good about today, that was a list. Love it.
Yeah, that's good.
I love it.
We haven't talked about this beforehand, but I'm asking you, what challenges have you found you have to deal with as a bonus mom, as someone stepping in new in the lives of these kiddos? Can you think of a couple that
Yeah,
mothers who might be in that situation should be aware of? Or maybe
yeah.
these are mine, maybe yours are different, but these could happen.
A lot of it comes down to communication, really and
Mhm.
truly, because the kids have this history with their actual biological mom that has built up slowly over time. I'm walking into the middle of their life. So I've never seen, oh, when you couldn't pronounce the word as a baby, you said this, which turned into that, which turned into this. And so when you say something like, I need nuggles, and I'm like, what are not, is that a stuffed animal? I don't have that context, and they're looking at me like, what are you talking about? And I'm looking at them like, what?
Yeah.
And really, that's just their way of saying snuggles.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sure, come here. You know what I mean? Like, there will be so many times when the context for me is just like, you could be talking about anything. But the context for somebody who's known them a long time, has seen how they've developed, they instantly know. And I'm certainly getting there with them. I'm slowly but surely figuring out the gestures or the inflections of like, "Meh," means a different thing than meh. Well, those are totally different, but do you know what I meant by that? Not unless you know me kind of well. So
Well, sometimes they're pretty obvious too.
I love it when they're obvious.
Yeah.
That's so great. Well, and sometimes they're obvious and I'm still like, what?
Well, this is a new, different venue for you. I mean, this is, and you're an only child, right? So you didn't have that experience with siblings. So it is kind of, you're stepping into a role and a relationship that is so different to begin with. But then not having to take care of other people's children and things like that, or nieces and nephews. It Yeah, I think you're doing excellent, in my opinion, for walking in kind of cold to this family. So you're amazing.
I'm
That's why
trying.
she's on the podcast, people, because I love her to pieces.
Yeah, I love the kids. I just want to be the best version of myself around them and to be helpful because I can't be their everything and I can't even be their mom, really. But I can be helpful and I can say, that's one way of doing things, and have you considered this other way of doing things? Which sometimes that just happens because I'm a totally different person than them. I'm less a stranger now, but I started off a complete stranger with totally different background than they've ever seen before. I just want to be helpful to them. So finding the ways that maybe it's different than they've ever done before, but it's something close to what they're already interested in. So for the younger one, the kid loves reading. So our thing this summer happened to be going on walks to the library. The library's not very far. They super enjoy books, so they'd super enjoy this little outing where we'd have a nice little walk and a nice little chat and then pick out some cute books. And the kid was reading like a book a day in some instances, which is so great
That
because
is awesome.
books
That's
are
awesome.
everything. Yeah, especially in the day and age where we can just be on phones or playing games or tablets or whatever, to get a physical book. Oh, that's everything.
So you also do activities with them, if I remember right. You've done crafts and things with them to get them
Yeah.
another opportunity to use their hands and their minds in different ways.
Yes, I try.
Is
They're
there
both.
something that they seem to really enjoy?
Mm, I think it's interesting. Maybe it's just the age that the 15-year-old is at, where like if we watch something as a family, that really draws them out of their shell. So if they get to watch like they were all obsessed with Percy Jackson and Renegade Nell and all of the struggling for the word, animes. They love animes. Like when we'd watch that, all of a sudden they'd have a lot to say during the movie, during the show. They'd have a lot to say that would get them really excited, and then they'd have more of a conversation where you could say, "Oh, well, what do you think about that character? Why do you feel that way? And what are your opinions?" and really draw them out. Whereas like with the younger one, yeah, they just want every activity. Like I need every activity. At one point during the summer, they said, can we go to more activities because I'm feeling isolated. I'm feeling a little lonely. I'd like to be around kids my age. And I was like, yes, we will get you around kids your age. And then we had a whole conversation that opened up about social anxiety. So the kid asked for the activity, we picked it out together. They were so excited about it the day before. And then, 10 minutes before, they were like, I don't want to do it. I can't do this.
Oh, wow.
Which I recognize instantly. I'm like, "Oh, kid, yeah, I get you because I have that same anxiety." And then we have this whole conversation of like, "Hey, we're gonna try this out. If you hate it, you say, Miranda, I don't want to be here," and we leave. Easy. Any moment you're ready to like tap out, we can. It's totally okay. And suddenly that totally changed the conversation to, oh, okay, I think I can do this. And then as soon as they got in the room, one look at me, that was all I got, and the rest was just playing.
They were gone. They were gone.
They were so excited about it. They had a great time.
Well, I think it's good that they can trust you that you will recognize those things. And that was very bright to recognize, especially if you feel the same thing, you could relate to that and you express that to them. And so they felt comfortable. And I think sometimes as parents, no matter what our role as a parent, we feel like we have to be the strong one. We have to be the one to show them. And vulnerability is a weakness, but really being vulnerable is a strength you show your children as you work through that with them. And we put too many facades on.
I agree.
I think the kids can see through most of them anyway.
Yeah,
So,
whether they recognize it or not, they see through it.
right, they might not know exactly what it is, but they're going, really?
Oh, yeah.
You need to be authentic to who you are and for your kids. I think authenticity is extremely important for you as an individual and as you're working with other people.
Yeah, I think
So
it's
any other fun things we can think about with kiddos, especially those who are stepping into a situation, into a new family?
I'd say, I mean, it depends on the kid. Like these kids are generally much quieter, much happier with a book, much happier not going outside. That's their personality, and in some ways it's my job to like push them to keep going outside and doing things and getting out of their comfort zones. And in a lot of other ways, it's not my job to push them at all. It's my job to just help them push themselves whichever direction they want to go, because I can't tell them what's going to make them feel excited and alive. I don't know until all of a sudden they're excited and alive and I can say, "Hey,
Yeah,
it's a good moment for you."
yeah, that's true. That's true. I think we can all relate to that because at one time, um, I thought one of my children would love this activity. So I went and they go, why are we here? I thought you like this. And I'm going, no, not really. I said, oh, sorry. Okay. What do you want to go do? And your husband, for one, loved architecture. So we would just go drive around and look at buildings. We would go and look at the new buildings or would go look at old buildings, depending whatever mood he was in. That was our time together. What do you want to do? Let's go look at architecture. Okay.
That's cool.
Now, obviously, right now, that's not his interest, but anyway, at the time it was.
Right. Yeah, I think it comes back to letting them choose for themselves in a lot of moments, and then maybe not letting them always choose for themselves. Because I'm sure if I left the kids to their own devices, literal devices, they'd stay in bed all day with phone. They'd forget to eat. They'd forget to brush their teeth. They'd forget things. And like, that's normal. That's part of the job of like being a parent, is repeating like, oh, yeah, now you ate your food, so you brush your teeth.
Yeah,
And
there's a process here that you need to learn as you grow older, and if you don't do it now, you won't have teeth to brush later, so, or whatever.
whatever it is that time, that was just an example. Although it is a constant conversation about teeth brushing. I don't wanna. Okay, I get it. Do it
Yeah.
anyway.
So, Miranda, is there anything else? It hasn't always been easy, has it? It's always just, oh, Pollyanna, here I am in this new
I wish.
situation.
No, it's interesting to walk into a new situation with all that history that you don't have. So, like things that are a non-negotiable in my life, uh, it wasn't like a thing to their dad. It wasn't a thing in their life. And it's been interesting to navigate that of like, what would I consider super necessary for them that they aren't doing yet? And how do I navigate that? So An example for me is like I walk every day. It's a non-negotiable. After dinner, Scott and I, my husband, we walk. And it was an interesting thing to say, well, do we want to have the children do that? And, I'm aware over here, like, everybody needs to move and it's summertime. So even if they don't have an excuse to be getting out of the house, how do we give them that excuse to be getting out of the house? So I don't exactly remember how this started, but this started a couple summers ago where it was the new premise. If you want dessert, you have to go on after dinner walkies. And we call it walkies because we don't take it seriously at all, even just between me and Scott. Like, this is not a childrenifying the word. This is literally, we think it's cute, so we say walkies. But this led to a lot of grumbling, a lot of complaints. Like, oh no, I don't want to walk. I don't want to do that. My knee. Oh, my foot. Oh, my this. Oh, my that. Any excuse. Oh, but I'm tired. Any excuse. And we would just have the conversation with them over and over again. Did you want dessert? Okay, then you go on walk. Okay, did you not want dessert? You don't have to go on the walk. It is your choice. But this leads to that.
Right.
You want that? You do this. So that was an interesting one where the first summer it was like, ugh, the biggest grumbles. And then by the second summer we did this, it was a little less grumbly. And then as that continued, the kids are like coming up with conversation topics for us.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, the younger one was like, let's play this game where you list a superpower and each one of us has to ruin it, which just turns into silliness.
I can see that happening. Yeah.
Pure
Yeah.
silliness. Yeah, like one of the good ones was like, oh, I have the power to teleport. And then one of the kids was like, but you frequently teleport into a toilet. And it's just silly, and we all giggle together, and it's very fun. And so they are like on board with walkies now. And it has all of these wild benefits. Suddenly they're sleeping a little better at night. Somehow their bodies hurt a little less. They don't have as many like rambunctious moments and then crashes. So the power of just simply getting a little the lightest of cardio in. Yes.
Well, that's good. That's good. You've learned to navigate this well, I think. And so it hasn't always been easy, but you've made your way through, part of the family, and you're well loved and everything's wonderful, right?
Thank you. I mean, it's definitely, I think about the kids so much of the time, like whether they're here or whether they're not here. I think about them and I think about ways that I can show up for them, and I think about what it is that they might need or how I can get half a step in front of them to be able to help out when they do have a need. So yeah, I'm learning slowly, sometimes in retrospect.
Yeah, well, I think mothers everywhere can feel your pain because children change every day and you never know really what to expect for them. And sometimes it's wonderful and sometimes it's not so wonderful, but that can also turn around into something rewarding in the end. Well, Miranda, thank you so much for
Thank you.
spending time with us today on Mom to Mom podcast. Also, if they just want to contact you and say, okay, now I'm a bonus mom, what do I do? Did you ever have this circumstance? Would you mind that?
No, I would love that. I would love to chat with anyone. Like, it can be really, it feels, especially if you don't have like a lot of friends with children, it can be a lot. It can be really like, whoa, I feel very alone in this. So absolutely, if you want to chat, I want to chat. Let's be friends. Let's talk about parenthood or just stepping in, or even if you're not necessarily in that like mom position, maybe you're just an aunt or a friend or somebody who's like a staple in a kid's life. Yeah, reach out to me. I'd love to chat. So you can find me on the internet. My performing artist name is Mira Dasu, Miradasu, which is just a shortening of my first name and my middle name. But I have a website, miradasu.com/vocal coach, and that is where you can sign up for lessons. You can also contact me. I'm on Instagram. I think you can contact me on the website. I forget. Or you can find me basically anywhere.
Good. Well, and she's fun to talk with. She makes you feel so good. We love having her around our families.
Oh, thank you.
Miranda, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. And I hope moms, especially those bonus moms who are stepping into a new family situation, will feel comfortable reaching out to you or feel more comfortable in the role because you shared your experiences with us today. Thanks again, Miranda. Take care.
Thank you so much, Jan.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Love you. Bye.
Next Tuesday on the Mom to Mom Facebook Live series on the American Mothers Inc. Facebook page, Sarah Gowns will talk to us about healing our relationship with our bodies. This is a very interesting topic, so be sure and join us next Tuesday, September 10th. Another important reminder for you all, nominations for the 2025 Mother of the Year are still open, but only a few more days. Nominations close on September 15th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. So be sure and nominate a special mom, a bonus mom, just someone that you know that deserves to be recognized for her outstanding role as being a mother. Go to the American Mothers website, americanmothers.org, and click on nominate. It's a very simple process. So be sure and recognize and honor that special mom. Thank you for joining me again today on the American Mothers Mom to Mom podcast. I am your host, Deanne Taylor. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Miranda Longaker-Taylor as she talked about her joys of being a bonus mom. You have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for listening to today's show. If you like what you heard, subscribe so you can get your weekly dose of mom-to-mom encouragement. We understand that being a mother can be overwhelming, but we hope that you found something useful you can apply to your own life. We invite you to share this episode with a friend who might also enjoy the message. The mission of American Mothers is to support mothers, empowering them to positively impact their families and communities. We want each one of you to discover and share your innate, inherent, and natural abilities to bless your children and others.
The primary purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the American Mothers Mom to Mom podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of American Mothers Incorporated, its members, or employees. AMI is not responsible for, nor does it verify the accuracy of the information contained in the podcast, nor does the series constitute any professional advice or services. We look forward to visiting with you, one mom to another, next week. Until then, just do your best at mothering, and remember, you're not alone. You've got an army of mothers all around you cheering you on.